It's a comparison video. The Oculus Quest versus the Rift-S versus the Valve Index. Let's get into it. Hey there folks, welcome back to the Tower Tech. Today we are taking a hands-on look at 3 of the best consumer-grade VR headsets available on the market today. 2 are from Oculus, that's the Quest standalone device, the Rift-S, their PC tether-based headset, and from Steam, the Valve Index. We've deliberately excluded enterprise-grade headsets, and we've also excluded the Vive Cosmos because, well, no words. So, let's get into the video. And the categories that we're going to use to review these headsets are games, visual quality of the display, the tracking of the headset, including the sensors, and the ease of setup, as well as the ease of use, continued ease of use, and value for money. So let's get into the first category, games. And the Quest has got a good library, it's got its own store, a nice selection that's growing day on day. It did have an exclusive launch of the Vader Immortal game, but that was quickly released more broadly for the Rift-S as well. Unfortunately, at this time, there's a bunch of games that you can play on your Rift that you can't play on your Oculus. The library is growing every single day, but it's a 3 out of 5 for the Quest. Now, on to the Rift-S. The Rift-S has a phenomenal lineup of games. It has access to the Oculus Store, it's got access to Steam, and it's also got access to Vive ports. And compatibility for games across these platforms is really, really very good. It's a 5 out of 5 for the Rift-S, a phenomenal availability of games. Now, on to the Valve Index. It runs natively in Steam, which is nice, but despite this being its native platform, there are widespread compatibility issues with games. Now, you normally can get the games up and running, and it tends to be the Valve Knuckles controllers that have the compatibility issue, but it's disappointing given that it's its own platform. You can get it working with Oculus titles, but it's a very clunky process, requires quite an investment of your time and the use of some third-party software. It does have compatibility with the Vive port, but again, same issue with compatibility, so it's a 3 out of 5 here. On to visual quality. Now, the Quest actually does have a pretty good screen. It's actually got nice resolution and it's got nice deep blacks because of the use of its OLED display. However, this is powered on a mobile phone chip, and as a result, only runs at 70 Hz. Now, this is always going to be a bit subjective, but I do find instances where that makes me feel a little bit ill. Most of the time it's absolutely fine, but you've also got, particularly in games that you can play on the Rift and the Quest, you will notice degraded visuals. Sure, once you're in the game, you tend to forget about it, but when you're looking for it, the quality is never going to compare to something that's driven through the horsepower of a PC. So on visual quality, the Quest, it's a 2 out of 5. On to the Rift-S. Actually a nice bump up from the original Rift. It's got good quality resolution. It doesn't have any manual IPD adjustment, but for me personally, for the vast majority of us, it's not going to be a problem as a software IPD adjustment, which seem to work just fine. If you do have very wide or narrow spacing between the pupils of your eyes, it may be a problem. Next to no screen door, that's been eliminated pretty well. The blacks were a little washed out, but not as bad as I thought they might have been on an LCD display. I think in the round it's pretty good. It's a 3 out of 5 here. On to the Index. Well, I mean, this is the best. This is the best consumer VR headset from a visual quality perspective that you can buy today. It's a full 5 out of 5. It's got 120 Hz refresh rate, 144 Hz experimental mode, the highest resolution of any of the headsets that we've got here, and Instantly, the second that you pull this headset onto your head, you can see the fidelity of the image is substantially higher than these other two devices. I got absolutely no sickness as a result of the fantastic refresh rate of the headset. It's a 5 out of 5 without question. On to tracking. The Quest has done a pretty good job with the 4 cameras it's got located in the corners of the headset. Very limited problems, actually. I genuinely am quite impressed. Now, clearly, if you put the controllers behind your back, it will lose tracking because they're forward-facing cameras. And if you're doing kind of like archery type stuff and you're pulling that controller near to the actual headset itself, it will lose tracking a little bit, albeit it does have some software that kind of compensates for that. It's sort of anticipating what you're doing. It does also have hand tracking coming in soon that's making use of some of the capability of the Snapdragon processor that sits inside this thing. So actually it's a solid 4 out of 5 for the tracking on this. The Rift-S uses a very similar system to the Oculus Quest. Both the tracking of the headset and the controllers is very, very good. It does have an additional camera located on the top, and the orientation of the cameras is slightly different on this headset. I have to say I didn't particularly notice a difference, and it doesn't have the hand tracking. I think they are working on that. So I'm actually going to give this a 3 out of 5. It's every bit as good in tracking the headset and the controllers as the Quest, but without the hand tracking, it's going to lose out. The Index is again the best of the group. It makes use of the lighthouse sensors. It has millimeter accurate tracking. Occlusion, if you get the placement of the lighthouses right, is practically non-existent. None of the issues are tracking controllers behind your back or in archery. It's easily the best. You've also, and I'm going to include this because I think this is a tracking component, it's also got individual finger tracking on the controllers, as well as a pressure grip sensor on there as well. That's unique to this device. It's a 5 out of 5 easily in this category. On to ease of setup. So for the Quest, pretty good actually. You use a mobile phone which you connect to it wirelessly. This does come with some charge, so you can get it set up pretty much out of the box. I would have liked to have seen a capability to kind of set up your account and then scan a QR code on a website using the cameras. That would have given this a 5 out of 5. It is very good. It's also going to be a 4 out of 5 because getting the display replicated or duplicated or mirrored on your television, it's in beta, it's clunky, it needs a whole heap of improvement. It's going to degrade the social experience, and I found the setup of that a real pain in the backside, if I'm honest. So good in the round, it's a 4 out of 5. The Rift-S, substantially better than the Rift, no faffing around with sensors, which is a real joy. Clearly still more steps involved than you've got on the Quest. You've got to download the software on your PC, get it connected to your PC. You then need to do the kind of tracking kind of boundary setup as well. Pretty good in the round, a little bit more clunky than the Quest setup, so it's a 3 out of 5 in this category. On to the Index. Oh, do you know what? Not a good experience. Didn't feel very 2019. I had to use tools. I had to drill holes in my wall. I had a temporary setup just to get the thing to work, and then I had to get the lighthouses properly positioned. It was a good couple of hours. I was tired and I was sweaty at the end of it. It's 1 out of 5. Terrible setup experience. So now on to continued ease of use. Now this is subtly different to ease of setup. The setup is generally a one-time thing that you're going to need to do. The continued ease of use is the day-to-day use of the device. Now starting with the Quest. Wow. Pull the thing on your head and off you go. That's it. You can use this thing anywhere. It's really good at remembering the boundary setup for rooms that you've been in, and it can store multiple rooms. I think it's up to 3. And for those rooms you've not been in before, the setup really could not be quicker. Honestly, not an exaggeration. For spaces you've used this thing on before, if it's charged, it's sat in standby, pull it on your head, it wakes up, off you go, and you're in a game. Really spectacular. 5 out of 5. Rift-S, generally pretty good. You do need to boot up your PC. You do need to get the Oculus software started. I disconnect my headsets as well when I'm not using them, so you've got that process to go through. Way more clunky than the Quest, but overall pretty good for a PC tethered head-mounted display. It's a 3 out of 5 in this category. And the Index, broadly a very similar experience to the Rift. You're starting Steam this time, but broadly the process is the same, so it's also a 3 out of 5. Now, on to value for money. Starting with the Quest. $400 and you're done. You need a mobile phone, we've all got one of those. You need a Wi-Fi router and an internet connection, we've all got one of those. $400 all in. It's the computer, it's the VR headset, it's your storage, it's everything. That's sensational value for money. 5 out of 5, without a doubt. Rift-S, to be fair, also pretty good value for money. $400. However, and this might be a little bit unfair to Oculus, but we're doing this video and it's about the value of money for you as the consumer. You need a PC to power this thing. You're talking $800, $700, $900 UK pounds in order to buy one of those, or upwards of £1,000. It's way more expensive. But to be fair to Oculus, the actual cost of the HMD is pretty good value for money, so it's a 4 out of 5 in this category. And the Index, I mean, it's the best, and it costs it. This thing's $1,000 to buy 2 controllers, 2 lighthouses, and the HMD. Now, if you've already got version 1 lighthouses, if you've had a HTC Vive, then you can get kits that are a lot cheaper, but this is still not cheap. And remember, this thing has got the highest resolution of all the headsets. It's got the highest refresh rate of all of the headsets. You need one beast of a PC to power this thing. It's expensive. It's the best, and it's expensive. It's a 2 out of 5 in this category. So, let's sum up our totals. Starting in 3rd place, we've got the Index, a respectable 19 out of 30. The highest quality headset on here with the best tracking, but way more clunky and difficult to get set up, and very cost prohibitive for the majority of consumers. Coming in at 2nd place, the Rift-S, actually a pretty respectable 21 out of 30. Good value for money. Easily the best choice for a PC tethered VR headset. Good all-round value for money. Ease of setup substantially improved from the Rift, but doesn't have the flexibility that the Quest brings, doesn't have that value for money. So our Quest has come in at number 1, 23 out of 30. Not a big surprise. I've said in a number of my videos that this is the HMD that I'm generally recommending for people. And whilst we haven't accounted for it in our scoring, there is substantial development going on for this headset. We've got hand tracking coming very soon. We've got PC tethering. It's not native. It'll have some latency. It will be a bit clunky, but we have PC tethering coming. And who knows what else Oculus have got planned in their development pipeline. If you've got a gaming PC, the Rift-S is going to be a better near-term choice. But if you can't afford both, I'd seriously consider going for the Quest. I think this is going to get better and better and better with the development. So the Quest has come out on top. A truly fantastic proposition from Oculus, who look to be dominating both the mobile market, pretty much the only really viable device in the mobile market, but with the capability around PC tethering, etc. coming as well. All-in cost of $400, just the ease of use just makes this a really easy recommendation for your next VR headset. So there we go, guys. I hope you're really well wherever in the world you are. Please like, share and subscribe. I will see you, as always, in my next one.